Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Before I get into the start of this video, I just want to start out by saying, as always, thank you guys all very, very much for all the support, the positive messages, especially when it came to the issues I've been dealing with my dog and stuff like that with the Willis Police Department. It really means a lot to me, so thank you. Just a quick update for my videos going forward when it comes to kind of discrediting and outing like all the shady stuff that the command staff personnel have done, those guys that I'm gonna start focusing on for future videos. I'm gonna start uploading those every single Friday, routinely every Friday. And in the meantime, I had a lot of requests to start doing smaller or shorter videos like this, addressing completely separate law enforcement related topics. So today's video is going to be about quotas for ticket citations if cops do have quotas, but I'm just going to be focusing on what I know, my personal experiences, with agencies I've been worked for, Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, the Willis Police Department, as well as other law enforcement agencies that I've been worked closely with or affiliated with, like California Highway Patrol, and other police departments that my friends have worked for that, we all talk. So I'm going to be addressing, those entities only. I'm not talking about agencies in other states or that I have no experience with or anything like that. So let's go ahead and get right into it. And before I get started really quick, I'm not talking bad about any of these agencies, any of the cops that work there. This is all just factual, truthful stuff. This is just how it is. I'm just bringing to light and enlightening you guys on, the reality of things. And like I said, I had a lot of requests to do this specific video. I'm going to do some other ones going forward, kind of related to this type of stuff. But I got this question all the time, even when I was a cop still. So let's get right into it. So my most recent agency that I worked for was the Willis Police Department. I was a sergeant there. And we did have an expectation to, issue tickets or citations. Now, let me preface this by stating that quotas are illegal in the state of California. They are. But there is a way that supervisors and command staff personnel get around that issue by doing the things that I'm going to be discussing here. So we did have an expectation to write tickets and citations, and the kind of way that they go around that is it's part of your job description. It's part of the department's expectations. Just like going to your calls, we were mandated reporters, so reporting elder abuse, child abuse, stuff like that, it falls into that category of what your job description is and what you sign up for and what you're hired on to do. So for example, my lieutenant that I had at the Willis Police Department, who I've discussed in previous videos, he would say, hey, you need to get on your guys. They're not, performing to the department's expectations. They need to get out there. They've been in the office too much. They need to get out and write tickets. But he didn't care. He just wanted, it didn't matter what the tickets were. No front plate, tent, rolling stop signs, all that type of stuff. He wanted a lot of cars towed. And the thing with that, especially for Willis Police Department, is, I was told it also generates revenue for the city, because it does. Every time we tow a car, the person whose car gets towed has to come in and pay a $65 fee to the city in order to have their vehicle released to them, as well as other parking violations. All that money generates revenue for the city. So he would have me get on my guys about that, and it's not necessarily that we would get written up for it, at least at Willis Police Department, but when you have your supervisors telling you to do things, obviously you have to do them, and it creates a kind of a stress that makes it so that you do have to go out and do these types of things. So what I would explain to my guys is hey, this is coming from up above. Like I stated before in my previous videos, I never wrote tickets. I hated writing tickets. I've written a handful of tickets my entire law enforcement career. As I stated before, I don't write tickets for stuff that I do. I have tents. I've always had tents on my personal cars. I've rarely had a front license plate on my vehicle. So, stuff like that, I don't write tickets for. But I would explain it to my guys hey, just so you know, this is coming from the lieutenant. I don't personally agree with it, but I'm just letting you know this is what the expectations are. And, they would relay to me okay, well, obviously, Trent, you're the supervisor. We'll do whatever you ask us to do. But, we'd prefer to work on our investigations, interacting with the community, solving, bigger crimes. Now, don't get me wrong. Traffic stuff is still very, very important. We would generate complaints from citizens in the community about people speeding, double the speed limit, in front of school zones when school's going on and stuff. That stuff's different. That stuff should be addressed. I'm not stating that. I'm not saying tickets are bad. They do have their place in the law enforcement world. Like I stated before, I'm just talking about the quota stuff and how that actually is. So there was that expectation for us to do that. I have friends that worked, one of my buddies worked for a police department in the North Bay area. Same thing, the lieutenants there would say, hey, you have to write tickets. It's part of your job description. That is the expectation of the department. For those guys, they would legit get, reprimanded in a way. He wasn't able to go to certain trainings because he didn't meet the ticket criteria for the month or the quarter or whatever it was. They would get put on performance, improvement plans, and they would be verbally counseled. It'd be documented negatively in their yearly evaluations if they weren't issuing enough tickets. And it's kind of the same way with California Highway Patrol. I have a lot of really close friends that work for California Highway Patrol, and same thing. Like if they're not meeting that ticket that ticket standard for the month or whatever it is, they're going to be verbally counseled. They're going to be given what's, I forgot the form that they have to fill out, but it's kind of like a negative deposition. It's not nearly as big of a punishment or as a full-on, write-up would be. But it does negatively impact them because their supervisors, like I stated, have that expectation. It is the Highway Patrol. I mean, that's kind of like a major part of their job function. But a lot of those guys sign up to do that job. However, a lot of them do not like issuing tickets, but I know a sergeant that works for one of the CHP stations, and his expectation from his guys is 80 tickets a month. And if you don't meet that, you're, going to get talked to at the very least about it, verbally counseled. If it continues to happen, you're going to get that, like I said, kind of negative debt type situation. I've walked into CHP stations in areas I worked in. They had a white board hanging on the wall, and it would have names of the officers, and then it'd have a category for the vehicle code violation, and then little tally marks next to it. So as a CHP officer, when you walk in and you see that, like, well, I only have 2, this guy has 10 or whatever. If I don't step my game up, I'm going to be potentially receive some sort of reprimand from my supervisor. So it makes it, like I said, it creates that stress so that you do have to go out and you do have to do those things. And, I've even been stopped by a CHP officer before when I was still in law enforcement. I'm not going to say where this was at, but he basically, he pulled me over. I think it was for window 10 or something like that. As I stated, all my cars have always had 10 on the front windows. He stopped me, came up to my vehicle, recognized me right away from previous, cop stuff. And, after that interaction was done, or right before it ended, he stated that he had to get one more ticket for the day before he went on days off because his supervisor had been bitching at him to issue more citations. So, that's just kind of how it goes with those guys. For Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, one of the very few things that I enjoyed about that place just before I left finally was the insane amount of discretion that we had when it comes to writing tickets. We had infinite discretion. It was not an expectation. It was not in our job description. Nobody ever expected it of us because we were deputies. And that's what I loved about it. That's part of the reason I was trying to go back to the sheriff's office when I was at the police department, because I just, everyone has their own styles and their own things that they enjoy. Some guys like writing a lot of tickets and some don't. I never did. I preferred, when I was out in Covelo interacting with the community, doing a lot of community policing stuff, talking to the business owners, the school staff, interacting with other people that resided there, doing my investigations, solving crimes, things like that. But some guys like to do traffic enforcement or write tickets. That's fine. That's what they like to do. But at the sheriff's office, we never had to do it. It was awesome. We would still stop people for those vehicle code violations. However, tickets were you just didn't do them. Like if you did, your partners would be like, why would you do that? So, that was definitely something that I really enjoyed there. So like I said, the quotas are illegal. However, you see, as I just explained to you, how they kind of get around that issue by, making it a part of your job description, the expectations of the agency and stuff like that. You can still be reprimanded for it, throughout the various things on your evaluations, not being allowed to go to trainings, and those types of things. Also, the discretion for people like, CHP or certain police departments, they're not going to be as apt to or willing to cut you guys breaks necessarily, because in the back of their mind, they still do have that quota, what I'm saying, that they do have to meet. Whereas when you get stopped by a deputy, you're probably not going to get a ticket. So like I stated before, not talking bad about these agencies, any of the guys there, anything like that. I'm not saying tickets are positive or negative one way or the other. Just kind of my personal experiences with this type of stuff. And like I said, just enlightening you guys, just letting you guys know exactly how it is. And that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna cut the video off here, just a quick one. Like I stated before, I'm gonna do these types of videos in between my other larger ones. So if you did like this, please comment below, let me know, and I'll continue to do so. Like I said, I did have a lot of requests to do it. So, but if you enjoyed it, let me know, please. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.